All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are going to explore three totally different world ending thought experiments. We're going to see what science has to say about our world ending from a massive cosmic disaster, a huge global miscalculation, and, well, a really, really personal encounter with nature.
So, that's the big question that's going to frame everything we talk about today. We're going to look at three different hypothetical apocalypses, one from the sky, one from right here on Earth, and one from the deep sea, and see what each one tells us about the crazy forces that govern our world.
So, here's the game plan. We're going to kick things off with a massive cosmic collision. Then we'll zoom in a bit to a global catastrophe that we might actually cause ourselves. And finally, we'll get super personal with an old survival story. And by the end, you'll see how all these wild ideas are actually connected by the basic laws of science. Okay, our first scenario is the big one. I mean, the really big one. Just try to imagine our solar system's ice giant Uranus suddenly breaking out of its orbit and making a beeline straight for us here on Earth. This would be a disaster on a scale that's, well, it's hard to even comprehend.
Now, normally, something like this would take years, even centuries. But for this thought experiment, let's say Uranus is moving at an impossible speed, like 1,000 kilometers per second. That gives all of humanity just 30 days. And it would all start out kind of beautifully, right? A brand new blue star in our sky. But really, it's a 30-day countdown to extinction.
And to really get a sense of the destruction, you have to understand the sheer scale we're talking about here. Uranus is about 15 times more massive than Earth. So way before any actual collision, its gigantic gravitational pull would show up and literally start to rip our world apart. This isn't just an impact, it's a gravitational siege. You know, as Uranus barrels through the asteroid belt, it basically acts like a cosmic slingshot, just flinging these massive city-sized asteroids directly at us. At the exact same time, its gravity starts to overpower our own. That triggers enormous volcanic eruptions all over the planet, and earthquakes so strong they'd shake our entire civilization to pieces from the inside out. And, you know, just to add one last kind of bizarre insult to injury, there's the smell. Yeah, the atmosphere of Uranus is packed with hydrogen sulfide. That's the exact same chemical that gives rotten eggs, and, well, you know, their very distinct smell. So the end of the world wouldn't just be terrifying, it would smell absolutely awful. The end itself is just this chaotic dance of fire, rock, and gas. Uranus's 27 moons would just pummel our planet from every direction. Its gravity would squeeze and ignite our atmosphere, and whatever was left of Earth, it would be captured, becoming just another smelly, stinking moon orbiting the very ice giant that destroyed it. Okay, so from an unstoppable threat from outer space, let's turn to a problem we actually created. Americans alone produce 254 million tons of trash a year. So, what if we could just get rid of it? You know, what if we could just dump all of our trash into a volcano? Well, the first problem is you gotta find the right kind of volcano. What we'd need is called a shield volcano. It has a nice, calm, stable lava lake, you know, kind of like the ones you always see in the movies. The problem is those are super rare. What we mostly have are stratovolcanoes, which are basically just high-pressure bombs just waiting to explode. Not exactly the best place for a landfill. But look, even if we found the perfect volcano, the whole plan just falls apart. The carbon footprint of hauling millions of tons of trash would be its own disaster. But the real danger, that happens when all that cold trash hits the super hot lava. It pierces the surface and triggers a violent, explosive chain reaction. And hey, this isn't just a theory. Back in 2002, some researchers in Ethiopia actually tossed a single 30-kilogram bag of waste into a lava lake. The result was instant and explosive, with all this pressurized acidic steam. So now, just imagine that, but scaled up by millions of tons. Yeah, we wouldn't be solving a problem, we'd be creating a toxic, explosive catastrophe. Okay, we've gone from the cosmic scale to the global scale. Now, let's get personal. Our last scenario is about a story from 1891 about a whaler named James Bartley who was supposedly swallowed alive by a sperm whale and survived. So, the legend goes, Bartley's crew found and killed that very same whale a day later. When they cut it open, they found him inside, unconscious, bleached, totally white by stomach acid, but alive. It's this incredible story of survival against all possible odds. It's a fantastic tale, for sure, an amazing story.
But could it actually happen? Let's take a closer look at the biology of what it would be like to be swallowed by a sperm whale.
Yeah, the scientific reality is way more gruesome than the legend. Surviving inside a sperm whale isn't some battle of wills. It's a battle against a biological machine that is designed to do one thing: digest. And it's a battle you would lose instantly.
Let's just start at the entrance. A sperm whale has somewhere between 40 and 50 teeth, and each one of them is about 20 centimeters long. That's the size of a large chef's knife. You wouldn't be swallowed whole, you'd be shredded before you even got close to the throat.
But okay, what if you miraculously made it past the teeth? Well, the journey only gets worse. You would immediately suffocate from a total lack of oxygen and a whole lot of methane gas. Then you'd be dropped into the first of 4 stomachs and start dissolving in a hydrochloric acid. In the end, there would be nothing left but bones. Survival is literally impossible.
So, we've looked at 3 very different ways the world can end: a cosmic collision, a global screw-up, and a personal biological nightmare. What did these extreme thought experiments actually teach us about our own world? Well, each one reveals a really important lesson. The Uranus collision shows us that our place in the universe is actually pretty fragile. The whole volcano plan proves that simple-sounding solutions to complex problems can backfire spectacularly, and the whale story is a good reminder that biology is a powerful, unforgiving system that really doesn't care about our legends. Ultimately, asking what if about these crazy scenarios isn't really just about imagining disaster. It's actually a great way to understand the very real and unforgiving rules of physics, chemistry, and biology. They show us that whether you're talking about a planet, a volcano, or a whale, the universe runs on systems that are way, way more powerful than us. By pushing these ideas to their absolute limits, we end up getting a much clearer picture of our own reality. Sometimes the best way to understand how things work is to imagine how they might break. So the only question left is, what should we imagine breaking next?